You ever had one of those moments where your brain can't catch up with your eyes? Where you're looking straight at something, and your mind is racing, begging for a logical explanation, but no matter how many times you blink, the scene doesn't change. That was me at her office Christmas party. I can still smell the pine-scented candles they had burning in the corners, hear the faint crackle of some holiday playlist humming in the background, see the fake snow spray painted along the edges of the glass doors. It was supposed to be a normal night, one of those obligatory events where partners tag along, smile politely, make small talk with coworkers whose names they'll never remember. I was there to support her, to show face, maybe drink a little too much eggnog, and then head home with her on my arm.
That was the plan.
What I didn't plan on was walking into the lounge area and seeing him, her so-called work friend, standing there grinning like he'd won the lottery, holding her bra in his hand like it was a trophy. Now let me back up, because this wasn't some random stranger. She'd mentioned him before, always with the same dismissive tone. Oh, he's just a friend from work. Anytime his name came up, I got that little tightening in my gut. The one you try to ignore because you don't want to be that guy, the jealous boyfriend, who sees threats in every interaction. She'd laugh it off, assure me it was nothing, tell me I was overthinking, and I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. Because when you love someone, you cling to their words even when their actions start whispering otherwise. But actions are louder than whispers, and his actions that night screamed the truth in my face. I'd stepped out for a smoke. I don't even smoke, but the crowd was suffocating, and I needed a breather. When I came back inside, weaving through the clumps of tipsy coworkers and half-empty champagne glasses, I caught sight of her across the room. She was laughing, that high, carefree laugh she used to save just for me. But it wasn't me she was looking at. It was him. And then I saw it, the black strap dangling from his fingers, the shimmer of satin catching the light, her bra being waved around like some inside joke I wasn't meant to see. My whole body went cold. You'd think rage would have hit first, right? Some primal urge to storm over, snatch it back, and make him eat his smug little grin. But no, what hit first was disbelief. My mind scrambled for any other explanation. Maybe it wasn't hers. Maybe it was a gag gift from the Secret Santa exchange. Maybe it was some stupid prank. Anything but what it looked like. But then she reached for it. Quick, nervous, cheeks flushed. Not with embarrassment, but with the kind of giddy thrill you can't fake. And in that second I knew it was hers. And she wasn't mortified. She wasn't horrified. She was flustered, like a teenager caught passing notes in class. I didn't even realize I'd dropped the glass in my hand until I heard it shatter at my feet. Heads turned, conversations paused, and she froze mid-reach, her eyes snapping to mine. The look on her face, I'll never forget it. Wide-eyed, lips parted, a deer caught in headlights. But underneath the shock was something else. Guilt. He, on the other hand, didn't look guilty at all. He just smirked. The kind of smirk that said, "Yeah, I know what I'm holding, and I know you know too." That smirk did something to me. It flipped the switch from disbelief to rage in a heartbeat. I wanted to charge across the room. I wanted to put my fist through that smirk, but instead I turned on my heel and walked out. Not because I was weak, not because I was afraid, but because in that moment I realized the damage was already done. Hitting him wouldn't change what I'd seen. Yelling at her in front of her coworkers wouldn't erase the image burned into my brain. The betrayal had already sunk its claws in, and no outburst could claw it back out. She followed me out minutes later, breathless, tugging her coat around her shoulders. "It's not what you think," she blurted, voice high-pitched, desperate. I laughed, a sharp, bitter laugh that tasted like acid in my mouth. "Not what I think. He was holding your bra, and you didn't look too bothered about it. It was a joke," she insisted, eyes darting everywhere but mine. "Just a stupid joke. We were messing around and I cut her off, the words slicing through the cold night air. "That's what you call it." She reached for my arm, but I pulled back. The contact felt poisonous. "You're blowing this out of proportion," she whispered. That line right there, that's when it hit me. She wasn't even sorry. Not really. She was minimizing it, spinning it, trying to convince me my own eyes had lied. That's the cruelest part of betrayal, you know. It's not just the act. It's the way they make you question your sanity afterward. I didn't go back inside. I didn't say goodbye. I walked to my car, hands shaking so hard I could barely get the keys into the ignition. and I drove aimlessly through streets, strung with Christmas lights that suddenly looked garish, mocking. Drove until the gas light blinked on, and even then I kept going because the thought of going home, of lying in the same bed where she probably thought of him, made my skin crawl. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark, replaying it over and over, every detail etched deeper into my mind. Her laugh, his smirk, the way her hands shot out to grab it, too quick, too practiced, and the way she looked at me when our eyes met. Not surprised he had it, but surprised I caught them. That's when I realized it wasn't just about the bra. It wasn't about the party or even about him. It was about the months leading up to it. The late nights she had to stay at the office. The text messages she kept angled away from me. The sudden shift in our intimacy. The bra was just the proof I couldn't ignore. The exclamation point at the end of a sentence I'd been trying not to read. And here's the thing that hurt the most. I had trusted her, fully, blindly. I had given her the benefit of every doubt, brushed off every suspicion as my own insecurity, and she used that trust as cover. That's the part that burns long after the moment passes. The realization that while you were protecting them with your faith, they were already dismantling the foundation beneath you. That was the night the bubble burst. The night just a work friend became a joke too sharp to laugh at. And it was only the beginning, because the fallout, the confrontation, the unraveling, the way it all came crashing down afterward, was messier, uglier, and somehow even more revealing than that party. And I'll tell you about it. But first you have to sit with this moment. The image of a man holding the one thing she should have kept sacred, parading it like a prize, while she laughed along. Because that image, that's the kind of scar you don't see on the skin, but it marks you just the same. I didn't go back to her place that night. I couldn't. The image of him standing there smug, holding her bra like it was some prize he'd earned. It was carved into me, replaying in my head every time I closed my eyes. Instead, I parked outside a 24-hour diner, ordered a coffee I barely touched, and just sat there in the corner booth until the sun started to rise. You know how people say time dulls pain? That's a lie. In those first hours, time sharpens it. Every minute that passed was another minute I had to replay it all. Another minute where disbelief curdled into anger, and anger curdled into something worse. Clarity. By the time I walked into our apartment the next morning, she was already there, sitting cross-legged on the couch, waiting like a teenager caught sneaking in past curfew. Her eyes were red, her makeup smudged, but there was no humility in her face. No sorrow, just that nervous defensiveness that tells you someone's been rehearsing excuses. "You didn't answer my calls," she said softly. I dropped my keys on the table and looked at her. "Why was he holding your bra?" She flinched. "Not much, but enough. I told you it was a joke. We'd been drinking." And I cut her off. "Don't insult me. You and I both know that wasn't a joke. That was practice. That was routine. That was him doing something he's done before when no one else was around." Her face went pale. She opened her mouth to protest, but the words died in her throat. And in that silence, I got my answer. The days that followed were a blur of half-truths and backpedaling. She'd corner me in the kitchen, try to wrap her arms around me, whisper things like, "You're overreacting," or "It didn't mean anything." But that's the thing. When someone cheats, it's never about meaning. It's about disrespect, about the fact that what meant everything to you meant nothing to them. I started piecing things together. Her late nights at the office, the mysterious texts that lit up her phone at 11 p.m., the new lingerie I never saw her wear with. Each puzzle piece I'd shoved aside now snapped into place, and the picture it formed was ugly, brutal, undeniable. The final straw came a week later. I went to pick her up from work. Unannounced, she wasn't at her desk. Her co-workers, some smirking, some avoiding eye contact, told me she was in the copy room. I walked down the hall, opened the door, and there she was. Not with her bra off this time, but close enough. Her shirt untucked, her hair messy, him standing way too close, his hand brushing hers as they leaned over the copier like two kids caught in a cliché. They jumped when they saw me. She stammered something about paper jams and helping out. He just smirked again. That same smirk from the party, like he knew he'd won. I didn't yell, I didn't throw a punch. I just looked at her, held her gaze and said, "This is who you are now." Then I walked out. Leaving her wasn't easy, not because I still trusted her. God, no. But because walking away meant admitting I'd been blind. That I'd invested years of my life into someone who saw me as a placeholder, a safety net, a man she could come home to after playing games with her work friend. It meant tearing down the future I thought we were building, brick by brick, and standing in the rubble alone. But here's the thing about rubble. You can build from it. You can sift through the wreckage, find the parts of yourself you lost, and start again. And that's what I did. Slowly, painfully, but deliberately. She tried to come back, of course. They always do. A month after I left, she showed up at my door, mascara streaked, begging me to listen. He doesn't mean anything. It was just a tension. I need you. And for the first time I didn't feel the burn of betrayal or the ache of longing. I felt pity, because she thought she could hand me scraps, and I'd still call it love. She thought my self-worth was tied to her validation, but she was wrong. I told her, calmly, you had me. You had all of me. And you threw it away for someone who thought holding your bra at an office party was funny. That's who you picked. That's who you are. And I'm done. The look on her face, shock, horror, desperation, was almost satisfying. But the real satisfaction came later, when I realized I wasn't replaying the party in my head anymore. I wasn't waking up at 3 a.m., hearing her laugh in my ears. I wasn't haunted by his smirk. And here's the part I want you to really understand. Betrayal isn't just about losing someone. It's about finding yourself again. It's about realizing that someone else's actions don't define your worth, no matter how humiliating, or public, or brutal they are. Yes, she said he was just a work friend. Yes, I saw him holding her bra at the office party. But that wasn't my shame. It was hers. And when I walked away, I left that shame with her. Because the truth is, people show you who they are in the moments they think no one's watching. And once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. You can only decide whether you'll let it break you, or rebuild you. I chose to rebuild.